Hello, hello, hello. All right. Hello and good evening. Let's take a look here. We're going to make sure that everything is running properly. I don't see my face. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. Take a look at the scrolling screen down below here. If you have a moment, I would truly appreciate that. Um, what it's covering, and we have some things to cover today. This will be a stream, so I like to do these streams every Thursday. Um, I'm working on some new mastermind material as far as training programs, masterminds. I have some new things coming, so I've been working diligently. Uh, Also, moving. It's a new year. I hope that you're bringing in the new year phenomenally. With that said, if you take a look at the QR code, you could get a competitive audit. It's a free SEO audit. It's a competitive SEO audit. But it's not a technical checklist audit. No, no. This is a competitive audit, something that can and will lead to more calls, more sales, more website traffic, and of course will help your Google business profile and your Google Maps listing. Again, my name is Chris Palmer at chrispalmer.org. We will get into numerous topics today. I like to do these streams again to not only help you, but also set up my content for the week. I'll cover multiple topics. We'll cover a lot because I have time right now. And yeah, I think it ran through all the way. So we're going to go ahead and shut this down. Again, if you want the audit, you can go to this particular site. You can scan the QR code, or you can feel free to head on over to sendfox.com/SEO mastermind. I have 3 simple boxes to go ahead and check out. If you want something in particular, if you need assistance on a GBP or assistance on your website, put the information here along with your email and your name. I will not bother you. It's once a month we send out a newsletter. If you just want the newsletter, say just newsletter. And it's a complimentary SEO test along with unpublished content that's on Mastermind or is in the Mastermind group. So it's a value add. It's a give. All right. In the words of Gary V, this is a jab, right? No right hooks. I assure you, that's not how I play. But I do want this to come on in any case. It looks like we are live now, so that works good. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's figure out why this is not showing what I want. This is very intriguing. Here's what we'll do. We'll stop. We'll go like this, like this, like this, like this. Very interesting. Video. Mirror, that's me. I could see myself. Let's see here. Fixed. Let's click on this right here. Chris Palmer, show camera. Audio only is off. Wonderful. So wonderful. Looks like we are on. Cool. This will work out great then. So, my name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. If you would like, you can check out chrispalmer.org. If you take a look here, it's very, very simple. If you need white label services or consulting, you can go to chrispalmer.org. We do consulting or white label services. Interested in white label, or maybe you just need individual small services, you can scroll on down. You can see our menu right here. But if you're on the market and you need fully managed, or maybe you want to be an affiliate or become a partner, please, by all means, check out grayhatseo.com. This is full transparency. I don't lie and say I'm doing this. I'm very transparent with all of my clients. So feel free, press releases, managed services, local SEO, whatever you need. We would love to help you get more leads, more sales, more calls. That's what we do here. All right. You can book time right here, right from chrispalmer.org, hours, half hours, free intakes, whatever you need. If it's SEO and SEO services, of course, we have you covered. Not only that, at SEO Mastermind, we're working on getting some distribution on multiple platforms. So we're down. I'm having a heck of a time with the Apple platform, but that's okay. I learned Swift. Hooray for me. And hooray for the future users of SEOmastermind.org. Because we'll be on every platform. We'll be on Roku. We'll be on Amazon Live. We're going to be all over. It's going to be amazing. And I cannot wait to stream 24 hours a day. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. In any case, that's enough about me. I put it at the beginning of the video. That way I don't have to talk about it anymore. So here, let's get into some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. I have some doozies for you I think you're going to like. So we're going to start off right here because I get this question a lot. Not a lot, but periodically. All right. And I want to share actual, something that I notice a lot of some other companies may not do is show actual results, or they will show their absolute best. But a question that I get is like, how long actually, Chris, does it take to see more calls, higher proximity, better rankings? Because I've worked with some numerous clients. A lot of times, whether it's a graphics company, a pressure washing company, a pest control company, they've worked with other companies that are charging, in my opinion, astronomical amounts, $1,200, $1,500 a month for posting, optimization, traffic, engagement, maybe some type of reputation management, and they'll get lackluster results, or the proximity base that they're ranking in is 1 mile to 5 miles. So what I want to share with you is a hyper-realistic expectation of what you can expect to receive, not just from me, from probably any reputable and notable high-quality Google Maps or Google Business Profile service, or if you're going to do SEO yourself. How much time does it take to actually rank, right? Like, I want to expand proximity. I don't want to rank for a 2-mile radius, but what are we really looking at? So let's go through some of these. And these particular clients are current, or it will be their last month. They also signed the agreement, so I'm allowed to show their progression if I want to. It's in the contract. So with that being said, let's take a look at this. So I want to point this out right here. So we have a company here, Express Locksmith, and all of the companies that I chose, because this is YouTube, everything is on the up and up. These are 100% legitimate. There's no nonsense here, right? So they're all on the up and up, of course, because we're going to showcase. They're also maybe not our best performers, or maybe they're relatively new, but I want to give you a realistic gauge, right? It's not a promo. This is informational, so you have an actual understanding of how long it will take and what you can expect to receive if you start doing if you can optimize and do your own posts and optimize your website. And that's the biggest thing that I'll see is you'll get lackluster performance if you're not also optimizing the rest of your overall campaign, right? Like, if you're not doing any website, if you're not doing any social, if you're not doing any off-page work, you're not doing any schema work, you're not doing anything that stacks on top of each other for better local SEO or local AI SEO, you're going to have trouble. So how long does it take to increase calls and rankings, also expanding proximity? Let's take a look at Express Locksmith here. So this is Express Locksmith, and what I want to share with you is this range right here. So we're looking at the range because my claim to fame, or what we really look to do, is what we have found. And most of the time when you're not in a big city, all right, business owner, if you're not in a big city, right, what you'll notice is you'll be number one in your small little area, but your calls barely move. So the objective for yourself, or if you hire an agency or you have somebody help you out, is to expand proximity. So for me, that's my number one. That's what we're looking to do. We want to expand proximity because as I expand proximity and start adding key term and key term variations, or however you want to look at that, like service types, as we expand proximity, phone calls rise. When phone calls rise, potential sales also rise. And that's generally the KPI, the key performance indicator, is phone calls. That's all that every client I know, that's all they care about. They honestly do not care about rankings. They want to know, did I make the phone call? Did I make the phone ring? That's what matters. And I'm sure that matters to you as well. So Express, what we'll do is I'll come right over here to this account. So we're going to look at Express Locksmith. This is a 13.7 mile radius from here to here. All right, this is Express Locksmith here. We'll come right over here. Now, this tool right here is a phenomenal tool. No, I'm not promoting it, but it's the tool that we utilize. I have multiple accounts. In this account, I'll share some of the active campaigns that we're running, okay? So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at, first and foremost, I think it's a Mobile Express. So Mobile Express LLC. So as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to click on it. This way you can see realistically, like what can you expect? Like we work on these things. So you can see here we have in November, when we jumped inside of here on, let's just say November, okay? November 24th, it's the end of the month. We have our 5.3, it's a 9.94. As we start moving up here, we have a 5.5, depending on what the key term is, but you can see this here, 7.04. All right, so this is the overall performance, 3.55 rank. So we have 51% in the high range, and you can see here there are 6 separate key terms in this radius. This radius here is 13.7 miles. So how long did it take to expand proximity to a 13 miles from here to here? I mean, let's just say 13 miles. Let's just say it's a 10-mile radius, right? How long did it take? Well, it was December to January 6th. Right? November 24th is basically December, and then we have January 6th. We've been able to successfully push up, all right? When we take a look here, 36% were in the high, that means top threes. And then when we come over here, look at this. We were able to push it up to 51%, so more than half. All their terms are in now. Only 3% are in the low range, so low range is going to be 10 or lower, right? So only 3% were really moving all key terms up and also expanding proximity. You can always get this small little radius. And most of the time, business owners, not us, and I'm sure maybe not the agents you're working with now, but most are going to show you a mile, 3 miles, and it'll look great. It'll all be green. The name of the game, if you're not in a big city, is expand proximity. If they're not doing longitude and latitude impressions, and I'm going to share with you also strategies. Again, there's going to be numerous topics in today's video, but we're going to cover strategies that help assist you actually push your proximity. Like why we're able to see some really good success in a relatively short period of time. And mind you, most of these campaigns that I'm showcasing to you aren't $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500. We're talking like $125 a month, right? So there's the value always exceeds cost. And if you're doing it yourself or if you're working with somebody, be sure to make sure, right? I need that phone to ring. I can't dish out $5,000 and not have my phone or at least see my performance start to grow, right? I mean, it's just, it's just business. And I understand that. So this right here was a mobile locksmith, but don't worry, we have more. And again, I'm not showing you the best. We work with dozens, if I don't want to say it, but maybe hundreds of different businesses, whether it's month to month or just, it could just be a temporary thing, right? We run specials. I have long-term clients. We work on a lot. I just grabbed the ones that were at the very top. All right. That's what we did. So here we go. We have a graphics company, also the ones that signed the newest terms of service. So I could showcase some of this stuff. All right. People learn better when there's actual live examples. So let's take a look at this. This is in New York. This is a graphics company. This is, again, a 12-mile radius. Now, it wasn't that much of a distance when we started, of course. But what we've learned, again, if you're not in a massive city, is in order to actually start increasing business, you have to push proximity. You have to. You want to consistently add key term and key term variations. This is important to understand, while also pushing proximity. That's the name of the game. Being number one in a 1 mile radius is awesome, but if there's no people, you're in trouble. All right. And there's ways to increase this, but let's take a look at Lido graphics. So again, how long did that first one take? Let's just say that was a 30-day to really start pushing, So now we're going to look at a graphics company in New York. This is a Kings Park, New York. All right. So we can take a look at this. This is a graphics company here. I just went to the ones that were up at the top. So you can see here we have a December 22nd. We started on this particular campaign. This is gray because the tool went down during this time. I do believe that was family time and they were switching their system. This particular gentleman added some new features, as you can see over here, new. I don't have any links or anything, but you can check them out. This is Local Dominator. So when we come over here, you can see this guy or this company is just awesome to begin with. I mean, this is just pure love, right? Like, it doesn't get much better than this. So what we're going to do, though, is we can take a look down this list here, and we can see we have a 4.62 TARP, and we can start seeing that. Look at the terms that are in here. So we have 14 different key terms. And as you see here, if we come down here where these poorer ones are, and if we take a look at our proximity, we could take a little spread here, okay? So we moved up slightly in our overall rank. We still have the same 14 key terms. And as you saw here, our overall TARP, this is like an average ranking, has also improved. Now, when we take a look at this proximity here, how far of a distance is this that we're moving up and also pushing proximity? Well, we can see here that December 22nd to January 2nd is the timeline. That's how long it took to start pushing and moving up in rank, right, to give you an idea. And then on top of that, when we take a look at our board here from Kings Park to Terryville, because that's where we're at here, right? Look at the rankings. Kings Park is here because I just saw the bullets. And then if you go over here, here's Terryville. So from here to here, how far is that, you ask? Well, we could take a look together. That's 12.9. So if we trim a little bit off each side, we'll say it's a 12 mile. All right, to give you an idea of how far it is and what it is. All right. This right here is a pest control company. And this isn't a relatively large, it's like Middlesex County. I believe this young lady is currently redoing her site with some new performance. I forget exactly what her plan is. But as you can see here, we're looking at a 27.5 mile radius. So we can take a look at this together. All right. And if you look back, you will see strategies or tactics that we deployed in order to get this type of spread. Enviro. All right, we can take a look at this one. So it's only 3. These are broad match key terms. Again, you'll notice this, all right, business owner. If you're starting to get reports or if you're running it yourself, you don't want easy term or term variations. You want broad match. Now, we don't want to do geo-modified because it's a lot easier to rank for geo-modified. So if you're getting reports or if you're focusing on geo-modified, people in those areas probably aren't typing that in, right? The only people typing that in is you and other SEOs, right? Most of the time, a person is just like near me or they're looking for an actual term. If you rank for the broad match, you probably rank for the near me. So that's why we really like to look at broad match. Just that's up to you to decide, especially if you're paying for credits. I want to see how I'm doing for the hardest thing. All right. So let's take a look at this one together. So this was off and on. You could see here September the 18th. When we take a look at this, we had we went crazy just to see. What we were doing here is we were doing longitude and latitude impression share. On top of that, we were also deploying true entity SEO within the website. And we were actually utilizing the site before the rebuild because I knew I had time before she was going to rebuild it. We were deploying some new strategies that had to do with entity building within the website and then making reciprocal linking back to the actual asset and pushing traffic based upon longitude and latitude and the entities that we built within the actual website. So we're talking longes and lads. That's an entity, by the way. And then we're actually pushing traffic impressions to those. And then they were also mentioned within the website in multiple places, not only in the visible HTML, but also within the rendered DOM or the shadow DOM, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And then in the schema too. So what we were looking to see is, can we, with entity SEO, can we push proximity in this manner? And then we could see for ourselves. September 18th, again, this is in Middlesex. We're looking for a really big spread here. And these are broad match key terms, can be perceived as relatively hard. Nothing too crazy, but again, bigger area, harder key terms, and a lot bigger spread. So I'm not expecting any, we're not miracle workers, right? And don't be hard on yourself if you don't get crazy results right off of the bat. SEO is a long game. It's a long process. As long as you stay consistent, consistency is how you build true authority. I assure you, I've worked on hundreds of campaigns, literally, and consistency over time is how you become the actual authority. That's how, without any doubt. The boring, mundane things that are scalable, that's how you reach success. Consistency, doing the right things over time. No shady tactics, no crazy stuff that like no one knows about. Like, no, it's the things that everyone talks about, being consistent over time. That's how it works, I promise. Now, there might be some traffic or impression stuff that you can't do as a home owner, right? Or a normal non-SEO. I call them normals. But that doesn't mean anything. We get slight advantages, all right? So let's take a look at this together. So we could see the 18th. Let's just jump to the 27th. Oh, yeah, because I think she's building a new site. 1821, and then you can see here. Now, if you saw though, because once we identified the actual area, because we ran our test, you can see pest control, exterminator, and then we have pest control service. All right. Now, if we take a look here, we can see, I don't know if I did top to bottom, but let's go over here and see what the spread is here. All right. So Bridgewater to Clark. So Bridgewater. So we come in here, Bridgewater Center. So as you can see right here, Bridgewater. And if you come over here to the right hand, oh, Bridgewater, it's right here. So I actually have a little bit extra, but I was being lenient with myself. And then you come over here to, what is this called? Clark. So I left some space here, but here's Clark all the way over here. Okay. So you can see that we have, it started off, if you take a look, September 18th to November, look at this. All red, nowhere to be found for any of the terms. See this? And then September 18th to November 27th. I don't know, September, October, November, let's just say a 60-day span. And yeah, again, it's not crazy. It's not bright green. But what we're looking at here is, were we able to expand proximity for broad match key terms in a relatively populated area? And the answer was absolutely. So yes, we were testing some strategies, but this is a very good spread, 27.5. So much so that when she jumped off, this young lady reached back out and said, hey, we're going to do a redesign and we want to work back with you, Chris. So this is something that you can expect to receive, but this is consistency over time. This was 2 months, So let's take a look at this one more. This way, I tried to get all different facets. I have more. I have a lot of lawyers, but I don't necessarily want to show any of that. Plus, they get a little hanky. So these are just service businesses. Plus, they signed the new agreement. So I could get, I have lots of lawyers. Law firms take a little bit longer. The more dollars, the reason why it's harder is because there's more dollars and there's more value to be had, right? The more value to add into the marketplace, the higher cost it will take and the longer it will take. There's no question. But here's Wipeout Pressure Wash. Spelled this wrong, but I'm not here because I win spelling bees. I'm here because I can rank 40 miles. So here, take a look at this. So again, this is probably nothing special, but we have 42 miles. This is from south to north. And I think, is this Canada? I forget. I'm not sure. But here, let's come on over here now and we can take a look together. The name of this is Wipeout Pressure Washing. We can take a look at this together. So we'll go to scans. And I think this is the right account. I'm not sure which one this is. I think, oh yeah, this is the newer one. So Wipeout here. So here you go. So this could give you another idea of the amount of time. All right. And we have live track. All right. So you can see this is really very interesting. But if you take a look here, this is mostly green, but these little towns, these little areas, they mean, they mean the world to a business owner. Look at this. If you zoom in here, like look at all these little streets, you know, like what's great about these smaller areas, business owner, and the reason why you want to expand is it's easy to take over the forest, right? And if you can push into these areas, everybody and their brother is going after the larger cities, going for 25,000 or more, 50,000 or more. But if you could take over a 50-mile, 100-mile radius for 20 key terms, you can really start to increase some of your calls. And that if there's any takeaway, not only about time, but also strategy, the goal is to get term and term variations that are broad, right? While expanding proximity, all right? Don't be in a rush. Take your time. But as you can see here, we have December the 9th, looking at a 1365 and 6 key terms. It's an 1820. Let's take a look. So it's looking like 6, 16, 23, 4%, 23, 12, and 61% are out. Okay. So as we move up, all right, again, I didn't take my best, but what we did do is we've moved most of the key terms up. And that's the objective. And we've also identified the area. It looks like we can go north. So are we going to push resource down below here into Detroit? Depending upon the client's needs. But really what we're going to try to do is look at if they want to give us north, then we'll push north as long as the customer will service there. We could take a look at this together. And yeah, we had a small, so 9th to the 6th, not quite a month yet, but you can see the small progression. And looking at this particular result and the way this is going, I can tell you that we probably didn't do any work on the website or any other off-page factors. The more off-page factors, the more social factors, the more off-page entity building that you can do, the better off you'll be. Also, there's risk. I'm not saying that it's good for a business to take on risk, but if you have a client or a customer, whether you're doing SEO or doing yourself, if you're risk adverse totally at 100%, like you don't want to do traffic, you don't want to do citation building, you don't want to do anything, it's going to take you a significant period of time. All right. So this gives you an idea. 1 to 2 months, you can really start to get a good spread. 1 to 2 months, for basically $300 to $200, you can really start to increase phone calls. Right. So hopefully that helps you out. This will give you an idea of how far you can rank, some of the costs associated to this. It's like $300 to $250 for a month, 2 months, right? So relatively inexpensive. You could get a really good spread, but none of these were huge cities. I have chiropractors in LA. I have law firms in Philly. I have law firms all over. The same type of result. It's just you would have to be more aggressive. Okay. I digress on this. Hopefully this helps you out. 1 to 2 months, you can really get a spread. 1 to 2 months, you can really start to bring in more key terms. And that would be the next part. It's adding more term and term variations while also identifying the precise longitude and latitude pockets. For instance, see how we have a pocket here? See this little pocket here where Google is identifying that, hey, we think you're relevant in this area. Well, this is the pocket that we would want to work in. So you need to identify, well, what is the ISP? What is the ASN for that area, right? I need to identify, well, what type of traffic could actually come from there, right? I'm not going to send Comcast traffic that's residential when Comcast isn't even in this area. I'm not going to send Metro PCS when that's a dead zone for Metro PCS. Are you with me? So on top of that too, I'm not going to pick longitude and latitudes that are in the woods, right? You can't run traffic in the woods, okay? So you need to identify first and foremost, okay, well, how many people are here? What type of devices? Also, if you think that Google doesn't have an understanding of what the populace is, how many people, male, female, homes, non-homes, which houses have cable and which houses don't fool yourself. Google is in the phone business, right? Which means they're in business with everybody. Like they have that information. They know where the people are. They know where the houses are. They know what ASN and ISPs are. Like you want to make sure you're matching and mirroring, and you'll have a lot more success moving into 2026 if you are assisting your traffic. All right. And there's other ways to push your traffic, and we'll talk about that. I have a actual checklist that has helped us massively that we'll cover today that will help your prominence, your relevance, and also expanding proximity. Some of the strategies that we've been deploying, and we'll cover those today. But first, I want to share with you some tips related to two separate factors. We're going to move topics now. All right. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right. I made a video. I think I uploaded it today or yesterday related to internal linking. All right. But there's two huge pieces in that video that I glazed over. I had a question about it, but it's the most important piece of that video. The fundamentals of search marketing. Yes, there's new lipstick for the same pig, right? But the objective is still to get more calls and more leads, right? So do not glaze over the fundamentals. You just have to be more precise with the fundamentals. And I want to share two very, very important things that have been a massive factor for helping assist rank local business websites, e-commerce, and affiliate assets as well. Okay. And I'll cover that with you right now. But first, let's see if you have any questions. I doubt it at this hour, but you never know. You never know, right? Let's see here. How there's somebody messaging me is beyond me, but I love it. Thank you. Carlo, what's up, man? Good to see you, brother. Great to see you. How do we get the checklist, my friend? Well, I'm going to cover it, and then it's going to be extracted from this video and made into another video, but we're going to go through it off the top. I actually wrote down some of the, Carlos, we have a mastermind. The mastermind is really just a research and development, and then I share some of it with members, right? But a lot of this is what we've been deploying within our agency in order to reach success. Like it's, and again, I'll cover that with you. Like I made a list probably 2 days ago that was a GBP optimization checklist for ranking. And I gave the most important aspects, right? But I didn't go into detail. What I'll do today is I'll go into some of the detail. Now I'm not going to, I'm not going to give it all up, right? Not here. But what I will do is I will share the strategies. All right, Carlos, I think that'll be helpful. And then Fada Maru, good to see you. Everything is okay. Let's start your good knowledge. Hello to you, my friend. Yes. Yep, you got it. Wow, I've been yapping for an hour or a half hour. Let's move on to the next topic because I better go to bed soon. So yeah, I just wrote some of the elements down. Here, I'll go through some of them. So, okay, so here's where I wrote it. So really, like what the strategies that I'll deploy, we'll do this next after my next topic. This will be 3 separate topics during our stream, all right, in case you're curious. But really, each of the strategies that we're deploying are tackling one of 3 things, all right? The objective of what we're actually tackling, if you could see our list, this is an in-house list like I share with Alex, Michael, Andrea, Tammy, Dave, like the people that are working on the campaigns, and it's been tested and tried and true. But we're really, each strategy or micro strategy is to attack a particular aspect of ranking, or at least what we've identified for rankings, okay? It's either going to have to do with either relevance, distance, or prominence, right? And what we've identified is actual strategies to help optimize for distance, prominence, and relevance. And then I have precise things that we actually do in order to get an edge, right? Depending on the client and the budget and the timeline, okay? And also risk. Like if they don't want any risk, well then, they'll probably only stick around for 2 months. But we're transparent. We're not going to do stuff, right? Like these other agencies. You get it. You get it. All right. Moving forward here, let's talk about this. So, again, I'm going to pretend like we're starting another video because we technically are, in my opinion. All right. All right. Here. All right. So, hello and good. Here. Let me just put this up here. So, what this is going to be in reference to is going to be site anchor density. And this is an interesting, this has become very, very prominent for us. And I'm sure if you've been practicing SEO, this is nothing new, but nobody ever talks about this. It's one of those simple things. I see a lot of videos, but everybody just, I don't know, either doesn't know what they're doing or they're just course sellers. Like I don't know. I'm running an agency and we're not selling service. We sell result. All right. And I want to share with you some of the stuff that actually moves the needle for us. Okay. That's what I do. So here's the next piece here. Page anchor. Okay. These are two concepts that you, in my opinion, will be massively, this is, if we look at website and SEO as a piggy bank, like this is adding another penny. Or if this is a savings account, this is another, or maybe you have a portfolio or stocks or however you want to look at it, or a gallon of milk, right? Like if there was 100 lines on a gallon of milk, this is 1 line, 2 lines. Like these are factors that are important, but it's not everything, okay? But these are very, very important, especially in 2026. So page anchor density, and I'm going to give you some examples, all right, as we go through this. Go like this, click on this right here. All right, and we'll cover this. So, hello and good day. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. In today's on-page SEO video, what I want to share with you is 2 SEO optimizations that you could start deploying today to actually start getting higher rankings for your local business websites. Regardless if you're in a big city, small city, if you want more calls and you want more leads, you need to be better optimized. Instead of or only chasing GEO, right? Doing your informational content to get top of funnel traffic. I get it, valuable, but we also want to fine tune what Google is already rewarding. So I want to cover some topics to help you understand. And I first want to lead with this. The traffic that Google is sending you is what your site is about, all right? I know it seems like such a simple thing, but always keep that in the back of your mind. Now, on top of that, there's ways that you can tell Google what you're all about. One of those ways is anchor text from external assets. Now, lots of people hone in on this because there's big dollars to be made. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it's easy. I can spend money and sometimes get a result. Right? I buy links with anchor text. This is how I get an external vote in to give context to my content. I have a piece of content and I want to give context, so I get an external vote to build in. You with me so far? Right? Now, something that's always glazed over in the pursuit of having Google understand what we're all about, who we are, what we do, and where we're at. Something that's always glazed over, not only because it takes a lot of time, but it seems mundane, it seems useless, but it's not. And the 2 concepts that I want to share with you are site anchor density. This is the overall site anchor density. This is what you say about yourself overall, all right? And what you'll find is if you take a look and analyze a lot of the winners, is that they're hyper optimized internally overall. Like if you were to look, and I'm going to share with you tools and ways to digest this, but if you take a look overall, what they say about themselves and how you know what you're saying about yourself is through internal links. But if you take a look at some of the top performers, even, and I'll share with you a personal injury. We could do whatever you want, but that's how we'll start. You'll notice it's glaringly obvious that it's the overall internal site anchor text. And this could be increased in numerous ways. All right. I just want to point out the factor, not necessarily go too deep into the weed. The next factor that I want to point out to you, other than understanding that the traffic that you get from Google is what your site is about, ways to influence that traffic that Google sends you is through your overall site anchor text. The next element, which most people get, is my page anchor density. Okay. So I can increase my page's anchor density in a magnitude of ways. Ways that I've seen, if somebody that we both know could be on Backlinko's blog or on perhaps Neil Patel's asset, right? If you take a look at both of those assets, these are both well known in our industry. You'll notice that Neil deploys, or at least the last time I look, he'll deploy a straw man conversation. Backlinko used to do the same thing, but within that straw man conversation will be jump links and also internal links to other assets. This, in my opinion, is done wildly on purpose because it increases the page's internal anchor text. That pages. Now on Backlinko, what you'll notice is there'll be a table of content, right? Or at least there used to be, right? And I'm only using these as examples because we both know what they are. So here, I'll point this out to you. And I want to share with you a tool. So the way we can analyze either pages anchor diversity or anchor text density, and then the overall site's anchor density, is with a tool called Screaming Frog. I'm not promoting it. It's just a tool that works great. Another tool that works great is, and it's free, is called Link Sleuth, or you can use Sitebulb. It's a little bit cheaper. This is a relatively cheap tool or inexpensive tool, and I think that it's mandatory. Now you want to turn your rendering on, and this is not a tutorial for Screaming Frog, but here I want to point out these two concepts to you, and we're going to go and do a search together. So if we were to come out to the actual SERPs, and let's just look up, I don't know, how about personal injury lawyer, where do you want to look? Do you want to look in, I don't know, how about Philadelphia? How's that sound? Because I'm in Pennsylvania, let's go to Philly. All right. So when we come inside of here, we can see that personal injury lawyer in Philadelphia. If I were to do this particular search, we can see that these are the top players within GBP. Okay, this is Google Business Profile. We have our Google Guarantee program up here, and then we also have our advertising. Now, what we want to look for is winners in GBP and also winners within the actual organic results, right? And bear with me, I'm getting to the anchor text. So if we take a look here, we have Zadvik, Levin, and whoever this is. Let me take a look here. Brandon something. So when we come down here, we have Philly injury. Okay, we're going to scroll on down. We have J, Min Lori, Klein, Rosen, Feldman, My Philly, Pierce, Solomon. Now here, let's come over here. I don't think any of those players are up in here. At least not right now. Okay. So let's just go to this one right here. So we have this player right here. Mata, I have no idea who these people are. But here, let's come over here. Now what I'm going to do at this present time is actually change where my browser is searching from. So here we'll go to Philadelphia, even though I'm pretty darn close. All right. All right. Okay. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There we go. All right, now I'll turn this off, turn this on. Now what we'll look for is personal injury lawyer. All right, again, I'm doing this to break out later on, but what I want to show you is massively powerful. Okay, and then I'll share with you how you can increase this. So I know it seems something mundane, but there's these two concepts you have to understand. It's very, very important for you. All right, so we're going to scroll down in here. Let's take a look at Rosen. So this could be a winner. Klein, I saw them in the other SERP, right? So this particular winner here is not only winning the geo-modified, but also the non-geo-modified. So let's go ahead and pull this one in right here because they're winning in a big city for personal injury lawyer. This could be potentially a very good and useful particular SERP, right? Let's just say it could be competitive, for someone, I guess. So here we'll come over here. We will put them inside of the Screaming Frog, like so, and then we'll start. All right, so what Screaming Frog is going to do is it's going to crawl. Now, yes, I've already set up the rendering and the HTML, but there's just two. I'm not going to let it go all the way. And I don't know who this is. This is just for educational purposes only, but we're going to look at two things here, okay? Bear with me. Now, hopefully, we don't have to wait for everything. All right. Let's just go to here. All right. So there's two things that I want to share with you. All right. So we're only at 6%. This could be considered a relatively large website, perhaps. I don't know. But we're going to just go to crawl analysis. Okay. So it doesn't look like it's ready quite yet. Let's see if we can get something on 7%. All right. So I'll go to crawl analysis or visualizations, my mistake. And what I want to share with you is what is called the in-link anchor text. So this will be the overall anchor text that's across the entire site. Now, you and I both know that they rank overall. They're in both SERPs for Philadelphia Personal Injury Lawyer. So if you were to look at every internal link that's on the website, and I've only analyzed 7% so far, if I were to look at all of them, right? Let's just see if I have let me see here quick. Let's just go to this one instead. We'll go here and we will look at the in-link text cloud, okay? Now, if I let this run, you see how Philadelphia is here? It's small right now, but as it crawls more pages and it gets more results, this will get bigger. That means that this particular term across the entire website, not just the page, has been used consistently. Internal links is what you say about yourself. The traffic that you get from Google is what Google thinks you're about. How do I influence the traffic? By telling Google through A tags, hyperlinks, internal linking, what I'm actually about. So when I'm cross-referencing, I want to increase the overall amount of times that I'm saying primary key term variations, entities, and LSI terms that have to do with these particular phrases that I want to rank for, or areas or terms. See, when you have a lawyer like this, personal injury, they probably do train, medical malpractice, they do personal injury, they do truck accidents, FedEx, they do Uber drivers, right? It's a personal injury lawyer. So these truck accident, car accident, semi-truck, right? Like semi, crash, injury, these are co-occurring key phrases. These are the words that I want to be very repetitive with when I'm cross-referencing. When I come in here and do an analysis of all the A tags across the site, internal links, I want it to be big. What you say about yourself influences rank. Now, this is overall site density. Now, let's talk about page density. All right. See, when we're taking a look at page density, it's very, very similar to the overall site. Okay. But this could be increased in a magnitude of ways. Now, what I want to share with you is this is just a crawl. Okay. This is what is called a crawl tree. Now, I want you to take a look at this. Now, yes, these are top level. I only let it do 7%. So it's only going to show the first level after the root. But what I want to point out to you is when you take a look at this, take a look down this list. These are all pages pointing to personal injury lawyer. Are you with me? So I have all of these pages supporting personal injury lawyer. And if you take a look, remember co-occurring key phrases? Words that come up when talking about a specific topic? Well, look how many pages. No wonder why they rank. This is one aspect of internal or page density of anchor text. There's overall site, and then there's the pages internal anchor density. Look at this. This guy right here, only 7%, or whoever this is. What's here? 70 different pages that all contain primary key term variations and co-occurring key phrases, all pointing to the personal injury page. And then you wonder why he's ranking on the first page? Are you with me? Okay, and I only did a little bit of a scan. And just because a page, these are live, that could work, but they don't have to be live. They could be follow no index. I'm just saying. Also, what's being counted on the page for the page's internal anchor density could be jump links. And that's what I shared in the other video. Someone pointed out that particular thing and they were like, oh, Chris, are you telling me that this is like a major factor? We need to add it? No, I'm saying that this is lending to the overall optimization of that page. Some people use jump links, like the example that I used in the beginning, like Backlinko or SEMrush, or if you look around, some people do chapters. If you go to like law.com or lawyer.com, they have a sidebar and it will go deeper and deeper in the content. All they're doing is jacking up internal anchor flow. That's it. Pages internal A tag and overall A tag. Very important. Competitive winners are, this is gold. You're welcome. So this is internal linking. This is overall page internal anchor density. And then the website's overall internal anchor density. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. These are the two factors that I wanted to point out after understanding that traffic is what Google thinks I'm about. So in knowing that, what do I want to start optimizing myself for? Because you probably do more than one service, right? But each service kind of complements each other, right? Personal injury is a great explainer because personal injury means all these different facets, all these practice areas, right? But they all help each other. Like I'll take a truck case, I'll take a medical mal, I'll take a brain, I'll take a pedestrian, I'll take a bicycle accident, whatever. But they're all personal injury. They're also all co-occurring key phrases. But think about your own business. What do you do? Stump grinding? Right? What do you do? Window installation? Do you do acrylic installation? Maybe you're a roofer. Do you do flat roofs? Do you do wood roofs? Do you do stucco? I don't know. All I'm getting at here is I wanted to, if you start seeing, if I go into my search console or you go into yours, right? And you're seeing, you launch all your services, but Google starts rewarding you for your non-primary service. Remember, that traffic is what Google thinks I'm about. Lean into that because it can lead to other sales moving forward or moving on, especially if you're a new site. That's all I'm getting at, right? Lean into what Google thinks you're about. Traffic rewards more traffic, right? That's all I wanted to point out along with the anchor text. Let's move on to the next topic. All right. Hopefully that helps you out. And again, I'll edit this later on. Those are the main points I wanted to point out. All right. And hopefully that helps you understand because I was asked about that. Hopefully that explains a little bit better. Here, and I'll show you something here. SEMrush, I don't mind. Here, let's go to the SEMrush blog. Let's see if they're still doing it. I love SEMrush. So if we go over here, let's go into their informational. It's been a while since I was over here. Toolkit resources. So we can come over here. All right, so we have our guide. So if we come inside here, this is a top level page. Look at this AI SEO tips. Perfect. So when we come inside of here, look at this. So we go in here to links, internal, 115, right? So here's unique, 123, all right? So as we scroll down, we can see these are all internal pointing back and forth. So discover more, we have pricing, App Center. See, this is the context to the content. See this? SEO, marketing, research. Now, of course, this is stuff that's hyper relevant, but these are going to be, look at this. It doesn't necessarily have to be inside, like here. See how this is 60% of Americans? It doesn't always have to be here. It could be in a sidebar like this, table of contents. Sometimes you'll also see different types of jump links. It can also be within an image link. It could be hidden. It could be into the DOM. There's numerous ways. Sometimes there's comment sections where there's these straw man conversations, right? Like, I don't know if you remember Backlinko here. This is also now a SEMrush product. Let me share with you what a straw man conversation is. Here, come on over here. You know, at the time, this was ingenious because no one knew what was going on, right? But we knew what was going on, right? Like, I could see it, but like normals had no idea. If you scroll down here, let's see. SEMrush might have cleaned it all up. I have no idea. Yeah, they might have cleaned that junk up. Good blog though. I mean, I'm not, not to disparage against it, but here I'll see if there's in some of the older ones. We could go to popular. Pillar pages, small. Let's go see. I have no idea if. Yeah, they cleaned that junk up. But look how they're doing this. Look at all these A tags being built. So they're not using that strategy, at least not on the 2 pages that I just checked. But again, you can look and see this for yourself. There's the jump links. There's the table of contents. There's the image links. Like, even the pros are doing it. They're doing it in the plain sight. And then don't forget, you could do IDs. You could do classes. The overall density that's in the rendered DOM is going into what Google thinks your site's about. It doesn't have to just be in the A tags. That's one thing I'm pointing out. But also look at all other ways to optimize. Think of ARIA tags. There's lots of ways to optimize. All right. I pointed out 2 here, but we're going to talk about another topic if you would like. But here, let's go over here. All right. Bro, what do you think is the main thing for GMB rankings? Engagement. Engagement is the number one thing for rankings. It's engagement. I was watching I don't want to use the word schmuck. I was watching a gentleman. I was watching a gentleman and they were pointing out in Boise, I believe, reviews on Google business profiles and then showcasing that the reviews are not as valuable as they once were. Bologna sandwiches, right? If you take a look and you analyze, you have to remember that there's more than one factor for ranking, all right? Reviews are still a massive factor, but reviews, just like links, decay and lose value over time. So, and then 2, there's other factors to ranking. So if you have someone that's like here, I'll show you something. If you come over here and you look up, say, BOISE gym, I want to point this out because reviews still have weight, but not all reviews are equal. So if I look up Boise gyms, okay, Boise is is it Boise? Let me think to myself. No, it was Biloxi was the example that I saw. Biloxi gyms. And I assume that the gentleman is just, he's new. He's new to SEO, so he's going to make mistakes. I made lots of mistakes when I first started, So when you're in your first year of SEO, you're going to make mistakes. So I understand that. But let's take a look at this. See, when you see a Crunch Fitness, like 553 reviews, and then you'll see this Ironworks, there's only 80. But I want to point out there's more than one reason that you're going to rank. You can't just look at this, right? Just the reviews. Like, do I need just a massive amount of reviews? Well, no. A much more important factor, it's not that you're going to point out, oh, hey, look at this one only has 80 and this one has 500. But what you'll fail to look at is the most important factor, which is age. right? Age is trump. The only thing that I could beat age with is engagement. But back to the reviews, okay? Let me show you something. So when you come over here and you go to Ironworks, see, yes, they have 80 and they still have reviews, but when you come over here and you take a look at these reviews, and I don't know who these businesses are. This was pointed out on another asset and was pointed out to me, and I just want to showcase because I think that the gentleman is just new to SEO or he just started. I'm not sure, right? But he's not seeing clear yet, but I would love to help him. So here we go. When you come down here, I want to point this out. So if I come in here and I go to newest, you can see we have a 90 days. So it's not very new, right? But they only have 80. So why are they here when if I come inside of here and I look at their gyms, there's tons of gyms? Well, it's because the most important factor, my friend, it's not that reviews have no weight or new reviews don't have weight. They do, but that's only one factor of many. But the biggest factor and the reason why they're sitting here, if you scroll down here and I were to come inside of here and go to reviews, right? And I go to, there's the newest. If I scroll down here, I'll show you something. There's only 80. Watch this. I scroll down to the bottom because it was the sort order was newest to oldest, right? Well, here right now we're only at 7 years, right? But here, Google Business Profiles or Google Maps listings came out in 2015? Well, look at this. This is 9 years old. It's not that the reviews don't have value, but when you're one of the very first businesses to show up here in Biloxi as a gym, you're going to be a significant ranker. The only way to combat this is with social or some type of engagement. Engagement factors can trump age. Usually you'll just be in the runnings. So that's why. It's not because the reviews have no value. That's not true. That's a miscalculation, sir. I know that you're new to SEO, so that's probably why you made that mistake. That's okay. Crunch is a huge brand. They have hundreds, and I would assume that they're getting relatively new ones. So let's take a look. 3 days, yeah. So this is freshness of review. Not only that, they're a huge brand. They have notoriety. If I look up Crunch Fitness, there's going to be hundreds. There's tons of them. They're all over the place. And then when I look at this Bradley, they have 70. When I take a look, you have to take a look inside of here. We'll go to newest. And you can see, so 3 months, very, very similar. They don't have that many reviews, but it's which co-occurring key phrases and entities are being utilized within the reviews that they have. Also, the optimization on the website and in the GBP. But I'm assuming that this person is here and a big winner because they're relatively old. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I've been wrong lots of times. I've made lots of mistakes. So here. So I think that it's unnoble to recommend to people not to focus on reputation because it's a massive signal, but it's just not at the very top, right? So you're half right, my friend. All right. Moving forward, let's talk about some of the things that actually do move the needle. Now, when we're looking at ranking inside of maps, and this is more of a strategy, okay? This is some of the stuff that we deploy. Now, not every strategy that we're about to talk about in this video for Google Maps rankings is for every business in every location. What we're looking to do is we're looking to target and optimize towards 3 different things: prominence, relevance, and distance, proximity. So we're looking to influence our proximity, which can be done in numerous ways, and we'll talk about that. On top of that, we're looking for prominence or relevance and relevance. Those are the 3 facets that we look to tackle. So the only way that we could overpower, say, that example that we just looked at, Biloxi gyms. How do you combat, if I were to enter into the market with a brand new gym, how would you combat that? You have age and then you have pure dominance of equity. Well, this will be some of the strategies that could actually get you up there. All right. Now, again, these strategies this is not one size fits all. This is 5 to 10 strategies per category. The categories we're talking about are prominence, relevance, and distance. We're looking to influence these, and we influence these in different ways depending upon the client, risk tolerance, location, age. There's a ton of factors, okay? But I'll go through some of these factors as a checklist to help you, all right? So let's go through them. Now I might want to skip. I did not show, this is internal. So I'm not going to give it all. I might skip over a couple, but this is for you and I'll edit this video later. All right. I promised that I would go through these. So I'm just on my phone here. Okay. This is what I was talking to my brother and I told him. Okay. All right. So here's what, all right. And again, not every strategy is going to be for every single business, for every business distance at every time. Okay. Here, we'll set this down. Sorry here. I'm gonna sit down with you. Okay. And we'll make this, and I'll give you some tips. This will be relatively valuable. I'm going to take my time with this part. Okay. So we're going to start off with, and these are in no particular order, but what we're talking about here is ways that we actually influence. I broke this down in what section here? Okay. All right. So there's 3 separate categories that we look to influence. All right. It's relevance. And if you see spelling, I'm sorry. I've never won a spelling bee ever. Okay. I'm not concentrating on that. I'm concentrating on giving you the most valuable information that has helped propel a lot of businesses in the last, decade that at least I've been doing this. 8 years I've been doing it publicly. Okay. So here we are. All right. So this will be in the relevance bucket. And again, not every single tactic or strategy at this point is utilized for every single client in every location, in every niche. It depends. These are just some of the things that have been the most effective for us moving into 2026. Okay. We call this dancing categories. All right. Dancing categories, if you take a look, you have multiple categories built within your Google business profile. All right. Dancing categories, if you take a look here, you have categories here. I'll come over here. We'll go to team. I'll come into this one. We'll go here. Here, I'll show you one here. We can look at this. Oh, maybe not this one because that could be perceived as here. This is a great guy here. All right, let's take a look at this together. All right. So there's a magnitude of categories. All right. So you have categories that are within your actual listing. So you have your primary category. Okay. You have services, which could also be perceived as categories. All right. Within the actual listing. And then you have your secondary, which you can get, how you have primary and then you can add secondaries. You can add numerous, and then it will show up inside of your service tab. Right? And then you have what is called product categories. So I call this dancing categories when we're looking to penetrate or find secondary variations of term in order to lean into. Because remember, just like a website, the traffic that we receive, all right, is what Google thinks we're about. So what we'll do is we will go to each of the categories and we always make sure they match and mirror. You have your categories that are within here, the actual primary business type. And then you have secondary. You have your services and service categories. And then you have your product categories. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll match and mirror within description, service, product, and then at the primary level. And we will switch and swap, not the primary, but all the secondary areas, we will start looking for secondary terms. For instance, if I were to have a personal injury lawyer that does truck, well, we'll start playing around with truck accident, truck injury, crash, semi truck injury lawyer, semi 18-wheeler injury lawyer, 18-wheeler crash lawyer. We'll play around and we call this dancing categories, and we'll mirror those. And then we'll do this week by week. And what we have found is when we play around with these categories, we get a temporary increase. But these categories have to be changed in service, product, description, everywhere. And we do this week over week. And we'll generally introduce 4 to 5 separate variations to see what Google will reward us with. And what's great about this is you also get temporary increases. This is generally a riskier tactic, but it's highly effective. Let's move on to the next one. And this is going to be for relevance. All right. I call that dancing categories, highly effective, but not in every market. All right. Another strategy that we deploy that's highly effective for moving the needle in maps. Here, I'll show you this one. Okay. We call this burst entity building. Okay. What I mean by burst is, for instance, let's say you have a website. All right. You should. But on your website, you are in, for instance, here, I'll show you something. Just to give you an idea of what this means. All right. So we go over here to maps, and I might need to use this later too. Okay. So I'll just leave this up. So I'll come in here to maps. All right. Let's just go to Brooklyn. Okay. So we're in New York City. All right. So I want you to take a look at this. So when we're doing burst entity building, this could be on Web 2.0's, primarily directories, Web 2, comments, image comments, automated link building. And what we're looking to do is build name, address, phone number, primary service, and a link back to an internal page or to a product within the GBP. And we're looking to spike based upon locations, secondary locations. So if we have a page that's optimized for New York City, we will start building directories, citations, Web 2s based upon all these. Knies, Flatbush, Borough Park, Midwood, and we'll build individual sets. So let's just say if you go to, say, creshpalmer.org and you buy 100 directories, well, we'll build those 100 directories for Flatbush, for Homecrest, for Gravestone, for Brooklyn, for Manhattan. And we call this an entity burst. Again, this isn't for, I'm not going to repeat this again, but each strategy is not for every client. It's not all of them are used all at once. These are highly effective in different situations, but these are the strategies that are deployed in order to get a result. Okay. And we call this entity bursts, right? This could be a link burst. It could be also PR campaigns done in burst, but it's always tied to location, primary key term, and secondary key term variations. And we're either building it to the products. Remember, any static URL that's in Google Business Profile. All right. So when you take a look at this, I'll show you this here. I don't know who these people are. I'm just using this as an example. See this product? So each of these products, see how this is done? So each of these have a unique static URL. All right. See these codes that are at the very end? So this would have to do with this one. So this one would have to do with this one, right? So we're looking to do variations. So as we're doing a dancing category, we could also be doing entity bursts. This is external coming in, right? So that is another relevance tactic, all right, or strategy, I should say. All right. Okay. Here's another relevance booster. So, here, I'll come over here. Maybe I'll break this into parts. Here's the other strategy that we really, really like. So you all know about reviews. and you know about the images that are uploaded in reviews. But there's also many other businesses here. Okay, so we don't call it this, but what we'll do here is I'll show you a strategy. Is you can call this an entity burst for photos. Remember, we're looking to attack multiple vectors. Who we are, what we do, and where we're at. So what we'll do is we'll identify a particular market. All right. So let's just say we're inside of maps here, right? So if we identify a particular market, let's just say we want to take over this marketplace here. So what we can do here is we'll look around and we will find places of interest and other businesses. For instance, if I wanted to be a gym, I could come inside of here. I can go here to the actual photos, and we're looking to upload photos that have either logo or information related to our business, but on other assets, monuments, places, things to do, restaurants, but around the location that we are targeting, and then tying it back to our asset. And you can call this photo entity bursting, but monuments, places, restaurants, relevant and non-relevant. We're uploading assets that are going to outline our business that we're looking to boost relevance for. All right. Another way of doing this is within the Q&A. My good friend Mindsa, I'm surprised he actually shared that, but going into the questions and answers and answering with a branded account, not your primary account that's attached to your Google business profile. But for instance, if you come inside of here and there's questions, okay? So there's reviews. That's another strategy. You know, you can leave reviews on competitors and then name yourself. But, you know, that's another way of doing it. All you're trying to do is you're trying to get your brand associated in a specific area. It doesn't have to be category specific or brand specific. Like if I'm a law firm trying to rank, you don't have to go to other law firms and give reviews and point back. But Google's going to consistently see that, let's just say this guy Ray's, people are talking about Ray's at restaurants. People are talking about it at monuments. People are talking about it at parks. People are uploading photos. It's flipping everywhere in a geo-fenced location. And that's the goal. You can also do this within questions and answers within other people's profiles. And then you get a branded account. You know how you can get as many Gmails as you want? Well, you upload the photo, you upload the account name, and you can go and do questions and answers in other people's profiles that are in a geo-fence location. Whether it's relevant to your business or not, it's showing up geo-relevance in that area. And this is widely used and highly effective. Again, this is not all used at the same time. These are strategies that are very effective depending on what you're doing. So inside of here, let's just say that you have this. Here's another way. I'll show you something here. So here, we'll skip that. I'll give you that one later. I don't see their cues unless I overlooked it, which I could have done. But I don't see it on here for some reason, which is interesting. But let's move on. You know what Q&As are. I'll give you another one. These will be relevance. I don't know how many I'll give you. But entity burst using photos. That's very, very important. And then we could another part of this is number 4. This is Q&A mentions. This could also be at places of interest, monuments, parks, porta potties, construction sites, bus stops. You're uploading photos, you're answering questions, you're uploading photos. um, giving reviews even. um, we've done all types of stuff to blanket an area. All right, I'll give you one more in this particular category, and then we'll move forward. These are internal strategies, by the way. They're not always to be deployed for every single client at all times, but these are highly effective strategies that we use. Okay, it's up to you how you want to utilize these. I am not sharing that. No, nobody cares about that. Here's the other one. So this is here. I'll give you this one. So we go on depending on the niche, especially within the law space. So in some niches, and some niches are easier than others. Okay, so this is we can call this cross-platform review sprees, right? We're not going to do the trust pilots and the stuff that is known to be easily manipulated, like Trustpilot, Crunch, easily manipulated, G2, easily manipulated. But your Abos, your super lawyers, your Facebooks, your Yelps. Yelp is hard to get to stick. These types of sprees where we are not always giving fives, because we've noticed that the best, highest rankings aren't always, or the ratings are not always going to stick or be visible. So sometimes you have to give yourself mediocre, but when you're hitting multiple platforms, Facebook, Yelp, we'll just say Trustpilot, Abo, Superlawyer, Zillow, relevant and non-relevant secondary resources, and how you figure out which ones are relevant is this. So you see underneath this business here? So each of these platforms you can mention businesses on. These are being valued. Also, too, you will see reviews found around the web. Maybe this profile does not have it, but I'm sure you've seen it before. What you'll do is you go to each of the different cities and towns, not just in your main area, but go all around the web in your niche and secondary niches. For instance, you're a car lawyer, right? Car accident lawyer. Well, look up divorce, look up truck, look up personal injury, look up the pros in multiple cities to get yourself a list of valued and trusted secondary review sources. And then you go on a secondary review spree. Some of these services and some of these secondary sites you can get out of hypothetically $1 a unit, right? If you wanted to, up to you. Most people are focused and concerned on just Google Maps reputation management. You're doing yourself a disservice. All right. Building relevance can be done very quickly in this manner. I'll give you another one to throw off relevance for users. When you have multiple accounts for not only uploading photos or answering questions and answers, but also when you're a guide and you're answering questions about business, right? You can go through and how you're looking at a business, right? And if you notice that they say, oh, hey, we have a general neutral bathroom, we have LGBTQ, or we have free parking or toll-free parking, or whatever they say as part of their amenities or secondaries. Well, when you're a guide, you can go in there and maybe answer to the contrary of whatever they have written. This can throw off temporarily their prominence, how far they rank. That really messes up proximity. Okay, I don't know if that's a negative factor, but it can also be used for good. All right, so that's more for prominence, not relevance, but it could be considered this. You can call this a guide amenity attack if you want. These names is not what we call it internally, but I don't know how else to describe it. I'm just giving you the list of things that are very helpful and hopefully can give you something to think about, perhaps. All right, another one internally. My brother is not. I'm not sharing these. He's a wild man. Oh boy, yeah, no. Here. All right. You it's completely up to you. Um Geo-targeted call spikes. Calls can be rendered in a magnitude of ways. Okay. I'm not here to tell you how to do it. Um, but what I will say is that you know how there's a button to click to call, and then there's a button to click to do a call, and you can send a text message to a phone number. And then there's a way that you can actually communicate within the business. And then there's a way to get that call link and you can share it in an email. Okay. These multiple modes of sharing ways to contact and communicate with a business, right? Where you're doing geo-targeted call spikes from those geo-specific phone numbers. Bursts of this, depending on the market, have been found to give ranking increases without any shadow of a doubt. Now, whether you're spoofing number, whether you're buying VoIP, whether you're buying, I don't know, however you do what you do, okay? As long as you're getting geo specific phone numbers, whether it's county specific, not state specific, it has to be more targeted. And you're doing spikes. And remember, there's multiple modes of creating and generating a call. And note, the phone numbers are being tracked on every profile. Okay. Sessions, just like with CTR, that are created, initial calling traffic sessions. Think about this. If I go to Google and I do a query, right? You go to Google, you create a query. Let's just say it's for, I don't know, car accident lawyer. I go to one person, I bounce, I go to another person, I bounce, I go to the winner, I end the session, right? This is a positive signal to the end user. Calls, just like visits, are tracked. Same with phone numbers. So sessions that are created with calls can also help your rankings. I'll leave it at that. I'm not sure on that. No. No. All right, here. I will share with you ways that we some of these tie into the distance algo and ways that we will look to influence that. These will be relevance or optimization strategies that we deploy. Again, not all at once, not all at the same time, not for every client, not in order. If you're stuck in a bind, or maybe you've tried some of these ways of optimizing, you can always try other ways too. Hopefully I can help assist your thought process. Okay. All right. So let's move forward here. All right. These are true strategies that actually work. So not always, not for every client, not in every location, but you never know what will be the best for you. Moving forward, this is going to be ways that we help distance increases for rankings. All right, so this is distance. When we're looking to develop and do our research and development for testing, it's always to target and to tackle three different facets or three categories of ranking. In our opinion, it's all about the prominence, the distance, and then of course the relevance, right? So when we're looking for strategies that can be repeatable and scalable, and we're going to test and then deploy for clients. These are the categories that we're tackling. Always, 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 right? If it doesn't fit into these modes and it's not scalable or duplicatable, then we don't want to mess with it. You know, it can't be anything that's too wildly outside of the norm that normal people aren't going to do, right? Like, people upload photos, people have local guides, people make mistakes about businesses, right? People sometimes close down, or sometimes they'll change phone numbers, or they'll upload photos on a restaurant talking about their business. These are normal things. It just so happens that sometimes we scale these things. So let's move forward here. This is going to be for distance. All right. So distance, proximity, these are ways that we have found to be effective depending on the niche and where you're at. Okay. And it's getting late. Maybe this will be my last category that I cover, but we'll see. I'll give you some of these. I'm developing, well, now this is for my team members. These are individual SOPs that are done for team members, but I'm giving you pieces of it. There are also individual tests that were created in our mastermind. A lot of tests will only be shared live, and then they vanish from the drive folders, right? Because it's not information. If you were there during the time of testing, then great. If not, then it probably vanished from the face of the earth, right? All right, so here we are. Okay. So what we have, these are individual SOPs that are created. So we've used lots of process street. We've used lots of different ways to map this out for new people that work with our company. So I train my brother on certain strategies and tactics, and then he'll deploy and showcase to new assistants, we'll say. So, all right. If you're wondering what I'm looking through, and I don't want to give up a lot of these. Some of these I'm not going to. Okay. Here. So when we're talking about distance, now I've shared this ad nauseum with some people in different ways. All right. Now I'm not going to share with you tools or anything along these lines, but I want to point something out. Geofencing an area, and I've mentioned this numerous times, but understanding the areas that Google has identified for your county or for your city or for your town that you're targeting, or maybe even your service area. Like, identifying and understanding the area that you're targeting is massively important for every strategy that we've talked about so far. Okay. Now, when we're talking about expanding distance, we first need to identify where we are. So let's just go to this Biloxi because it's already fresh on the mind. Google is going to outline this in red. Okay, so this is a relatively large area. Now, Google already knows where the people are, what ISP and ASN they're on. They know what type of devices. They know if it's male or female. They know if they have a Chrome browser. You need to be, if you're running traffic and it's not being recorded, or if it's getting kicked out, or the parameters when you're generating traffic, if you're getting weird parameters or dropped, like if they're giving you testing, like it changes the URL parameter. Like, it's hard for me to describe. But if you're getting a lot of those, you need to switch your ASN, you need to switch your ISP, you need to change something, or they've cut your pattern. There cannot be patterns. There cannot be a pattern. No time of day, no time clock. It can't be a minute to 2 minutes. Like, this needs to be the most sporadic thing that you can possibly think of. That cannot be a pattern at all. If I can give you anything, no patterns. But you're also identifying your area. Now that you understand, I think I made that one clear. As long as you know that there cannot be any patterns, and then you also know that, okay, I need devices. I may need logged in devices. I can't have return visits. I need to understand session. There's some certain things that you need to understand. But once you identify your area, you need to then identify each of the residents. Okay, well, On this street, how many? This is a commercial residence. This is residential. Okay, well, what kind of ISPs are in this area? What kind of phone providers are in this area? Right? You need to identify these. Once you identify this, if you run what is called a geogrid, you'll start to identify longitude and latitudes because everything's broken down by longe and lat for each place. So when you're picking longitude and latitudes, right? If I'm looking at a geogrid like this, and let's just say that this is a red 17, okay? Pretend that this geogrid, this 17, is actually this map right here, okay? And it's actually right here on this spot right here. It's in this house, this residential property right here at this lunge and lab, okay? When I want to influence proximity, or if I want to influence ranking position and proximity, I need to identify, well, what is that lunge and lab? What is the ISP? What is the ASN? What type of devices are there? Is there any foot traffic there? Is there any people there? And if there is, like, what's going on? So I guess we could call this, for pushing distance, the number one tip that I want to give you. And I don't know what tools you're using, what tools you want to use, but you need to be identifying longe and latitude, ASN, and ISP specific impressions and interactions, okay? Take that however you want. But that's what you need. Know patterns, identify what actual providers I need to be utilizing, what kind of devices, is it male, is it female, do I need a logged in? Government census information is your friend. Next. Also, too, does your proxy time match the time zone that you're in? Like, you can't, there can't be any mess ups. It's very important. Like, it's not just fire up epic traffic anymore and just let it fly. It doesn't work, dude. Like, you have to be way more particular, and there can't be a pattern. I've drilled into that. Next. Okay, I'll give you this one. All right. Geo geo place jumping, we'll call this. We don't have an internal name for this. It's just a way that we run traffic. What you're looking to do here is understand what a session is, okay? When and if you're running traffic and you've already identified devices, people, your programs, your ASN, your ISPs, your residential, your non-residential, your mobile, what mobile providers they have, what kind of browser are you using, everything is matching and you're not running any patterns. The next thing you want to understand is with traffic and traffic sessions, even though I'm running to GBP, I don't have to go from a gas station. I don't have to go to a monument. I don't have to go to a bank. I don't have to come from whatever. It could be any business in your, how I just looked up Biloxi and it did the outline red? Any location that doesn't show up inside of a tool. Think of the tools and how they're preset. What locations don't show up inside of tools that are preset that I could start a session with and then venture out? Like maybe as if I'm actually there. Are you with me? See, I'm looking to create sessions in a geofenced area and then end on my location. Geoplace jumping. I want to go start at one place. It's a direct visit to a place or to an asset. Let's just say it's a monument. Let's just say it's a library. I want to dwell and then hop over to me. That's it. This is another way to expand proximity very quickly. Okay. Also, too, like, okay, that's all I want to say. I'll give you one more on this. These ones I don't really want to share with you, but I want to help you. But I don't. These are ways that we earn. Um. Here. Now, in, inside, let's just talk about Google Ads first. Okay. I have a page. Okay. Inside of Google Ads, I have a web page. Okay. In that web page, let's just say maybe I have an embed. But what I want to showcase to you is, did you notice that you create a campaign and then you have multiple ads, right? Each of those ads, yes, you can have a universal G4 tracking code, okay? But what if you were tracking conversions based upon geolocation? So say I have a campaign that's for personal injury lawyer, but I'm actually, each of the ad sets is targeting a different geolocation. And then each of those geolocations has their own conversion tracking, not universal, its own tracking. And then I put that tracking into the page. Okay. And I set up to showcase and to share with Google, hey, like maybe I'm about to go set up all my ads. I set up all the tracking. I set up all of the different ads. I feed Google all my key term and key term variations and the hyper specific location that I want to run them in. And then you even set up the tracking. You can even click a little button and go and view and make sure that everything's set up properly. And just set that up. And you tell me if that was, it'll take you 5 minutes. Try it out. Enjoy. You're welcome. Okay. So we're going to say geo fence ads without budget plus tracking. Okay. Take that one or leave it. It's completely up to you. Make sure that you have unique. Do not use universal. Make sure you're setting up conversion actions that are unique for that page, for that location, for that campaign, for that ad. Put it into your page. And you can automate this too, by the way. And you can get hyper specific. I'm just saying, it's up to you. But you're able to force feed to Google and everything's connected. Everything is like you're force feeding everything to them. And we're not just talking about 10 keywords. I mean, every key term that page could potentially rank, or better yet, how about you go to all your top performers and every actual traffic variation that they get to their pages that they're beating you? Like say you go to the top 20 rankers. Well, what traffic are they actually getting? Well, all of those words and phrases and terms, that's exactly what I'm running for this geolocation. Just saying. But up to you. Do whatever you want. Take it or leave it. Last one that I'm going to give to you on this particular, yeah, this was an interesting, okay. Another one that we did was a traffic loop. Okay. I don't want you guys to find my stuff. Did you ever notice when you have your embed? Now, I shared a piece of this many moons ago, and also recently. Remember when you used to do an embed and you push traffic, even to the videos, right? You would run traffic, and you remember how they used to show you how many views that a particular image or an impression had? Every impression that it had, every view that it had. And then it would even show you the video views. Well, think about the videos. Like if I go in and take a video, that's inside of your GBP, and I go in and embed it. Yes, it's not visible on the front end, but if you look at the source code, or if you look up at the URL, they're tracking IP, and it will tell you how many visits that have actually engaged with that particular element. What I'm getting at here is, let's say you did a press release campaign, a PR, 300 URLs. I take an embed of my map on these 300 URLs, and I start at URL number 1, and I visit each one, and I load that embed 300 times. And that's a loop. Okay, new IP. Are you with me? We call this traffic looping. This is how, but you're not just putting one of your assets, and you're probably not using a PR because they only allow 2 images and 1 embed. But if you have a large scale asset type that you control, and I could put all the images, I could put the map embed, the directional embeds, I could put the videos, everything that is a embeddable URL from the GBP that used to be visibly counted. Remember, like images, videos, the directions, like everything used to be counted. Well, it still is counted. It's just not visible anymore. You go and you embed that into the assets that you control, and then with new IPs, ISPs, or residential ISP, or rotating ISP, you can do traffic looping. Very helpful. That's that. That's all I'm doing for you today. I love you guys. Today, what we covered, there's 3 categories that influence GBP rankings. I also did a quick little myth bust for, I think it's a brand new SEO. They were showing Biloxi reviews. He was new. I'm glad I could clarify that with him. GBP age is one of the main factors. Very, very important. It's not that the reviews have significantly lost their importance, or that, if somebody tells you that you need reviews, it's a lie. That's not true. Reputation is massively important to your overall performance. In some instances, though, some other factors outweigh the prominence of reviews. Doesn't mean that they have no power, or they don't need to be used. That's not true. It's that those other factors, like age and then how many assets online that they have, is just more powerful. Okay? I think that's disingenuous to tell business owners. Don't tell them that. Crazy. Yes, if you've done a great job and your customer will leave you a review, get the review. Don't coax them. Don't coach them. That's against the guideline. But if they want to do it, it's a factor. I definitely want that, and I would love for them to share it online. And then if I could get them to share the review that they created, and they go get that share embed and put it on their Facebook, and then maybe just magically, maybe another Facebook were to share it, or maybe I go to like an SMM panel and I have 10,000 people share that URL, and then I just send traffic to each of them, maybe in a loop. Who knows? I don't know. Who would do something like that? Not me. I love you guys. You have a great rest of your day. I'm going to bed. I said too much. And I love you guys. I hope you have a great night. 11 people. Blessings. You guys are wild. Perhaps as crazy as me. I love you guys. Hopefully this helps you out. Hey, Chris. Great to see you. Hey, Chris. Good job, Chris. Well, thank you, kind sir. Mindful Steel, my brother. Bro, what do you think the main thing of GMB rankings? Engagement, age. Hey, Chris. I see some people, some names I can't pronounce. I love it. I hope these things help you out. It's been an absolute pleasure. My name is Chris Palmer at chrispalmer.org, grayhatseo.com, and seomastermind.org. I appreciate your time. If you need white label, fully managed, anything I could actually help you with, I would love to help you. I'd rather work with you than sell you a training program, to be quite frank. I love you guys. You have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.